I guess I really like the challenge of making healthy, because quite often people have and I certainly had the impression that if to be healthy you had to eat boring food, and it excites me to think and to know that actually you don't have to eat boring food at all, that you can eat really amazing delicious food that's still healthy and still maintain a healthy body weight, but you can enjoy it just as much. So I think my passion lies there, and just helping other people, because seeing other people miserable and eating a plate of lettuce and a bit of chicken or a soggy bit of broccoli, and just thinking, no, it doesn't have to be that way.
Welcome to Real People, Real Results, Real Change, the podcast that's dedicated to helping real people develop real health and fitness in their lives. Real people like you, business owners, professionals, house husbands and housewives, and students. I'm Stefan, I'm a personal wellness coach at YouFit Studio, and I'll be your host. Today I'm talking again with Dannie Campos. She's a mother of a 3-year-old daughter, full-time working mum, but she also has a passion for recipe design and nutritious, delicious recipes. And I'm going to be talking to her today about those recipes, about what she's learnt about the way nutrition can support not just a healthy lifestyle, but also fitness and strength training. Okay, Dannie, thanks so much for joining me again. I'm really excited about today, and an opportunity to pick your brains a little bit about food, one of my favourite topics, nutrition, and how that all fits together in our crazy, busy, stressful lifestyles as well. Mm-hmm. So I know food is your passion.
It is, absolutely, yeah.
and in a very specific way, what you're. Well, tell me, what is it? What is it about this? What is it about food and meals, and what is it that excites you?
I think I've always had a passion for food, and creativity around food, and I think since putting that into a more healthy way, and learning about proper nutrition, that's just enhanced it even further and allowed me to get really creative with things. And I guess I really like the challenge of making healthy, because quite often people have and I certainly had the impression that if to be healthy you had to eat boring food, and it excites me to think and to know that actually you don't have to eat boring food at all, that you can eat really amazing delicious food that's still healthy and still maintain a healthy body weight, but you can enjoy it just as much. So I think my passion lies there, and just helping other people, because seeing other people miserable and eating a plate of lettuce and a bit of chicken or a soggy bit of broccoli, and just thinking, no, it doesn't have to be that way. Food's amazing, it's there to be enjoyed. Let's enjoy it.
Okay, so because the standard impression that people have very often of healthy food is exactly that, right?
Yeah.
A plain salad, which is my bugbear. Even now, I hate plain salads. Just a bit of lettuce, tomato.
Just taste of nothing. No nutritional value either. It's just no.
Interesting. Okay, so tell me more about this. So tell me, where should we start? This might sound about. Let's start with salads.
Yeah.
All right, because that's what people picture as a healthy option. And tell me about healthy salads, unhealthy salads, or even do those concepts even fully make sense?
So I think a typical salad is iceberg lettuce, cucumber, a few tomatoes, maybe a bit of onion, maybe a bit of sweet corn. Yeah, and actually there's not an awful, that's a lot of water there. There's not an awful lot of nutrients in those particular salad vegetables.
Right.
So I actually, salad's one of my favourite foods. I love salads, but not ones like that. It's about including much more diverse range of vegetables. There's so many vegetables out there that we can include in a salad, and being thinking about the seasonal veg, and including that type of thing, thinking about colour, so eating the colour of the rainbow, so the more colours that are there, the more nutrients we're getting, and just making it taste interesting, so using spices and herbs to just make it taste amazing, not boring. That traditional salad tastes literally of nothing, doesn't it? Tomatoes, yes, they're great.
But even then, not necessarily.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, some of them taste of nothing. So, yeah, it's just about getting a bit more creative and understanding how things work for your body, really. Okay. And also, like, nobody feels full after eating a plate of lettuce. So it's about including adequate source of carbohydrates with that salad as well. So maybe putting in some whole grains, some like rice or some quinoa or some potato or whatever, really. Sometimes I even have like nachos with a salad, if you fancy it, to make it a bit more fun. And then including the source of protein, so some meat or some beans if you don't eat meat, or some eggs, tofu, things like that. And then some avocado to have that fat source in there, or maybe some nuts and seeds, or a really nice dressing. I love making dressings as well, so I've got lots of different homemade dressing recipes that I try. Just jazzing it up from that simple, boring salad that people think you have to eat. You can make something really amazing, and it still fits within your goals.
Yeah, because this could be complete misinformation, but you see a salad, right? And classic is when you're eating out, right? And obviously, big chains now, they have to, reveal the calorie count and something like that.
Yeah.
And then you see sometimes they'll like kind of score the sauce separately, and you're like, whoa, the dressing is like crazy through the roof sort of thing. But is that a problem? Or how does this work? When you're putting together a salad or you're eating out, what do you kind of need to look for?
So I think when you're eating out, I always go with the principle of choosing something that I actually want to eat. So sometimes, that's the salad, if it sounds like a nice salad, but often it's not, it's something else. And I think now that the calories are on there, that just makes the decision even easier, because often the salad is more than like the burger, which is crazy.
It's true, right?
Yeah. And I think, A, choose the thing that you really want to eat. B, think about actually the quality of the nutrients that are there as well. But in terms of eating out, I think you're paying for something. You want to really enjoy it. So you're not going to want to pay for something, a salad or whatever it is, that you actually don't really want. And that's where we bring in some of the skills that I learned at UFIT, actually, about eating slowly and eating mindfully, and stopping when you're full, rather than thinking about what it is that's actually on the plate, and worrying about and really overthinking that. Is actually just tuning into those signals of hunger and things. Yeah,
because part of the thing that many people struggle with is losing track of those signals.
Yeah.
And eating beyond what feels comfortable, and then getting that sort of bloated, sickly feeling after.
Exactly.
That's what you're talking about, right?
Yeah, exactly. And overeating. So we always say eating till you're like 80% full. So not when you feel like, when you've eaten like a huge roast dinner and you have to undo your jeans and just like sit for 2 hours, like decompressing. Yeah. We don't want, that's like 110%. So we want to be at like 80% where you just feel nicely satisfied. And the best way to do that is to take your time. So our bodies don't signal to us that we're full until we've been eating for 20 minutes. So that brain doesn't send the message to our stomach until that period of time. So if you really which is easy to do when you're eating out, you can put the cutlery down in between mouthfuls, talk to whoever you're with, and really enjoy the social occasion, rather than just wolfing it down really quickly and then not realising that you're absolutely stuffed.
Yes.
That's a really nice way to do it. And then just not being afraid to leave something on the plate as well is a really big thing.
Yeah, and I know that's really challenging for a lot of people, isn't it?
It was for me as well, because I think just most of us have been brought up to eat everything that's on our plate. We don't want to waste anything. There's people starving out there that could be eating it. So it's that kind of mentality, isn't it? But actually, one of the things I find really useful to think about it's wasted, whether it's inside my stomach or it's in the bin, because it's not needed in my body if I'm full. So if it's about getting comfortable with just leaving that food on the plate if necessary. Yeah. And that's what allows us to then eat the food that we enjoy, rather than having to just stick to boring things. Yeah,
that's a good point. Okay, and you mentioned seeking out nutritious food. So, in your mind, what is nutritious food? Like, what does that look like, and what isn't nutritious food? Or again, is that too simplistic?
I think it's hard. I think it's important that we don't label foods as good and bad, but then we do need to have some awareness of things that are better for us and things that aren't so great for our bodies. So I like to think about it as things that we sometimes eat, things that we eat a lot of, and things that we eat occasionally.
Okay.
So, you know, things like vegetables, potatoes, or like whole foods basically is what we should eat most of the time. And then occasionally we can have like the chocolate, the crisps, the popcorn, the wine, like 10 to 20% of the time, but without kind of labelling it as good or bad, just enjoying it, but having that awareness of it, that it's not that good for us in terms of nutrition, but it's good for our souls, isn't it, sometimes to have that kind of food and sit and enjoy it.
Yeah. And what's different about processed or non-whole foods compared to whole foods? Like what is that? What is the fundamental difference between them in terms of like the impact that has on us? Or?
So I think most foods have been through some form of processing. A lot of the food that we eat has. So I think the term that's used now is like ultra processed food, and then there's processed food, and then there's your whole food. So obviously your whole food's like you literally you veg out of the ground, and then like chicken and things like that. And then you've got processed foods, which is more like rice, and like oats and things that have minimal processing but are still good for us. And then there's like ultra processed food that's like got about 50 different ingredients when you look at the label, and some of them you can't like say the words of. And I think it's just putting that sort of thing into your body isn't great. Like, we're not supposed to eat like chemicals and things like that, and when it's been processed, it's doing part of the job that our body should be doing in terms of processing food and digestion.
Oh, that's interesting.
So it has a different impact in terms of then how we take the calories. So for example, if you had 500 calories worth of chicken or 500 calories worth of chocolate, which is an ultra processed food, you're going to eat the chocolate quite easily, whereas eating 500 calories worth of chicken is quite difficult for somebody to do, and it would actually be a lot more filling than if you ate the chocolate as well. So
that's so interesting, isn't it? Because sometimes, especially when you're kind of looking at like building up muscle, and people who are like trying to put on weight, there is like sort of a theory out there that like calories are calories. It doesn't matter what makes that up. You know, you can just eat what you like, sort of thing. But it sounds like it's for balanced health, it's actually a little bit more complicated for that.
Yeah, definitely. So depending on what you eat, the calories. So protein, the body is the macronutrient the body has to work the hardest to burn off. So if you ate all of your, or the majority of your calories in protein, then you actually burn more calories than you would do if from the thermic effect of eating, than you would do if you ate chocolate for all of your calories, whereas your body has to do very little to process that because it's already been processed. However, nobody wants to just sit and eat chicken all day.
That's very true.
And that's why like the keto diet and stuff works really well, but it's just not very nice. Like it's okay for a short amount of time, but I don't really know anybody that could stick to that like long term. But that's essentially why it does well, is because it's just protein and fat and no carbs. But I like a more balanced approach, and I find that works well.
Yeah, very cool. Okay, so what are some of your go-to kind of like recipes or things that you particularly like to put together? Like just on a personal level, like what's inspiring to you? Because so one of the things that I know is that you're like you were saying with salads, like it's about nutritious but enjoyable with it, right, and fun and getting that pleasure from food. It's not about sort of abstinence or, you know, kind of almost like puritanical kind of like, this has got to, if it's not boring, it's not healthy kind of attitude. It's not that at all, is it? No,
not at all. So my favourite meals, so I'll start with breakfast. So typical breakfast would be, I really like in the winter especially like porridge oats, but I wouldn't ever just have like a bowl of plain oats. I would have lots of like berries, lots of banana, and then I'll add in like nut butters, nuts, and maybe some like honey or something like that. I also add in like some vegetables to my oat bowl, which sounds a bit weird, but I sometimes put like a grated carrot or a courgette in there, which you can't taste, but it just it makes it bigger, so it makes it more volume and more filling, and obviously adds in the nutrients from the vegetables as well. So that's a nice little tip. And then typically for lunch I will have a salad normally, but it will be different every week. I'll try and do something different each week and try new vegetables, go around the supermarket and see something that I've not had before or for a while and try and put that in my salad. So like roast up a load of vegetables and then put it with a protein, and then maybe like some weeks I'll have it with potatoes, like wedges in the air fryer, or some rice or some pasta. Pasta's my favourite like evening meal, which again is a processed food, but it's just so nice, isn't it? So,
That's true.
Like a Cajun chicken pasta is one of my favourite dishes, which is really simple to make. You can chuck loads of veg in there. The chicken's obviously really good for the protein source, and then you've got your nice comforting pasta for your carb, and then I make it with like a soft cheese and some chicken stock, and it just makes like a really nice creamy warming dish that's packed full of everything you need. So there's just a few of I mean, I could sit for hours and just list off various different meals, but
and I could listen and just imagine.
Don't want to bore people with that, but yeah, I mean, I've got hundreds in my recipe planners, so yeah,
amazing. And would you say, so one of the challenges again that some people have is like either for example being vegetarian or vegan, or thinking about like an Indian diet, for example, and spices, curries, those kind of things. Like is it possible to adapt any kind of cuisine, do you think, and find that sort of that ideal sort of healthy balance that, bearing in mind that some of this is around sustaining like an ideal weight, for example, or within the range of an ideal weight, and as well as health, it's that kind of it's both of those wins, really, isn't it?
So I think the biggest challenge with vegetarian and vegan diets is the protein. Sometimes people don't get the adequate amount of protein in, and the reason why it's important to get the protein in is because it's satisfying and it keeps you fuller. So often people that are eating a vegetarian diet it's quite high in carbohydrates, but what that means is they end up eating more to get that same feeling of satiety. So some small changes that we can make is to just add in a bit more of a protein source with each meal. So tofu is a really good one to add into a curry. Obviously lentils, any kind of beans and legumes and things like that, as long as there's something like that in there, then it's just going to help to keep you feeling fuller. Corn's another really good one. It's a great protein source. And with like Indian food and curries, I think one of the biggest things that adds the calories that I see people doing is like lots of oils and lots of ghee, which again is really good for us, but it's about just minimizing that and measuring it out so we know how much we're getting in each portion, and just being aware of like adding like breads and things like that to things. And like I make a really nice flatbread that you can adapt to like make a naan bread, and it's made out of just 2 ingredients, so it's literally just flour and 0% fat Greek yogurt. And you can add like garlic and herbs and things to it to make like a naan bread, but that's probably 100 calories, whereas if you bought like a shop bought naan bread or from a restaurant, God, you're looking at like 500 calories or something.
It's a big difference.
So it's just small little tweaks, so you can eat the same kind of food but just work in ways to make it a little bit more like nutrient dense and healthier and lower calories.
Because I guess the only thing I'm thinking, like as you're describing all these like wonderful foods, and I'm feeling hungry now, is portion management. I'm guessing is still a part of that. Right? Yes. You can't just kind of eat a bucket full of those kind of oats with all those wonderful kind of ingredients. Like there's some management around that. But how do you get a sense of that for what's because we all need different kind of amounts, I guess.
Yeah, so it's using the principles of the slow eating is a good one, and then eating till you're 80% full. But also in terms of gauging how much to eat, we use a hand. A hand is a really good guide. For women, you would want to be aiming for a portion size, a palm portion size of protein.
Okay.
A cupped handful of your carbohydrates, so a cupped handful of pasta or rice or oats or fruit, and then about a thumb size of fat. with each meal, and then like 2 fists of vegetables, and then that gets you a really nice plate full of food with everything balanced. You don't have to weigh it all out, because that can be faffy for some people. And you know that that's just about the right amount. And then if you implement that with the slow eating and with the 80% full, then you can't really go wrong with that method. And then I would just say, like, eat again when you're hungry. So don't have like small snacky things. Wait until you feel like 8 out of 10 hunger, and then have another meal. So if that means that you have like 4 or 5 meals a day, but you're not snacking, then that's going to be a lot better than just like continually grazing throughout the day.
Yeah, that's really interesting as well, because there are some theories, aren't there, like out there about, you know, kind of maintaining your blood sugars at a sort of steady level, and you know, one of the ways of often described about that is to have those kind of smaller foods more often. What's your sort of take on that? Like, I mean, I'm guessing there may be more than one truth here as well, but what would you suggest?
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody's different, so there's not a one size fits all approach, and people do have different needs and different activity levels, and obviously we're all built slightly differently, so you can't really say this is the ultimate way to eat. Personally, for me, I find that eating like a full meal with like 4 to 5 hours between each one works really well. If I start having like pieces of fruit every hour, for example, which is often what people do to have like a healthy snack, I find that if I've had an apple, half an hour later my blood sugar's dropping again, and then I'm wanting something else, and then you get in that rise and fall, and that's from just eating the carbohydrate on its own. Whereas if you have the apple with some peanut butter and some yogurt, then you're balancing it out, and you're fuller because there's more calories there, but also you're not getting that drop in blood sugar because it's not just eating carbs and sugars on their own. You're getting all of the whole profile there, so that works really well.
I'm guessing if you're making sure that all of those are in each main meal you have as well, I guess like you say, it's going to be individual to different people, but there is a chance that actually you get less of a blood sugar sort of drop
so you don't feel those cravings all afternoon that are just really distracting you from your work.
Okay, amazing. Alrighty. We're going to have to wrap up in a moment, but is there anything that kind of like we've missed in there that would be like, what would you, if someone's listening to this and they've tried a bunch of different diets and different things like that, and they're just like fed up with, you know, all the kind of different advice and stuff like that, they just want to start somewhere with starting to sort of get a handle on their food, like what would be a good starting point, would you say, or the best starting point?
So really simple starting point is what I've already talked about, and it sounds so basic, but just taking the time to eat slowly and stop eating when you're full, like literally not changing anything about what you're eating, but thinking about how you're eating before you do anything else is huge. And I know that like people at the studio, and myself included, have lost weight just simply by doing that before they do anything else, and it's kind of life-changing because it's something that you can do wherever you are. It doesn't matter if you're in a restaurant or preparing, or if, you know, your mother-in-law's made you something that's, you know, has got loads of calories in. If you use that method, then you're not going to go wrong, and you're going to eat exactly what your body needs, because when you're no longer hungry, you're going to stop eating. So that's the biggest tip that I can give, and what I've learned from YouFit as well.
So just really listening to your body and its signals.
Exactly.
Amazing. All right, thank you so much, Danni. I'm sure we'll do this again and dig in even more, but in the meantime, lots of food for thought there. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Cheers.